Good morning, beloveds. So we had an interesting day in the park. At first, we didn't think anybody was interested, and then we found out that's because they had all congregated in one place and we got swarmed. The problem is the grackles were in the park and they're a little scary, so it's like we had to get far enough away that we could get the peanuts to the squirrels and the blue jays without the grackles figuring out that the peanuts were coming from us. So, yeah. So, interesting day in the park. All right. Today is August 6th. Our title is Correcting Mistakes. The first quote is, "No servant can serve two masters. Ye cannot serve God and mammon." And that is Luke 16:13. Thought attracts what is like itself and repels what is unlike. We are drawn towards those things which we mentally image. That's from The Science of Mind, page 142. And then the last quote is, "The righteous steward governs their own mind wisely. Their confidence is not in things material, but in their concept of the one power and their conviction that thoughts are things." And that is from a book called Learn to Live, page 200. And as you can see, I have help today. Okay. My computer has a function called undo. What a wonderful key it is. When I make a mistake, I can activate the undo key. Immediately the mistake is corrected. Of course, it would have been better not to have made the mistake in the first place, but when a mistake does happen, I am glad to know that I can correct it immediately. We have the capacity to do the same thing with our own mind. When we make a mistake, we can mentally program the undo key in the mind to correct the mistake. However, we seldom do this. Instead, we worry and agonize over the mistake. We waste valuable time instead of correcting it by mentally undoing the wrong thought. We activate our mental key by declaring our oneness with God, by knowing that we are perfect, whole, and complete now. When we make a miscalculation in mind, let us undo the mistake and activate a new positive thought in its place. I have discovered in my own life that it is necessary occasionally to stand back and be aware of what I am introducing into my mind. Mistakes are not forever. They can be corrected. I have found a key. Try it. It works. I am responsible for the circumstances and situations in my life. I let love shine forth through me. I am conscious of love, peace, harmony, and joy. My life responds in harmony and joy. I am in charge of my life now. I claim the good, the just, and the true for me now. Okay, and that is NH. Which, let's find out who NH is. And that is Norma Hawkins. Okay. Foster's being very, very helpful right now. So yeah, I also enjoy the undo key, because it just backs it up. It basically undoes whatever it is that you have done. When you're typing, it's like you've typed a sentence or moved a sentence, whatever, undo, and it just shifts things back to the way they were before. Now, the cool thing about that is that when it shifts it back the way it was before, then you can put something new in its place, which I think is what Norma was going for. It's like, okay, you've made a mistake. Rather than focusing on the mistake, worrying about this mistake, making the mistake bigger in your mind, what she's saying is just get rid of it, undo it, pull that weed, make it as if it never happened, and then immediately replace it with what you want. And that really is the secret. It's like, okay, you've made a mistake. So then the best way to, in your mind, you made a mistake with your thought, and you're like, so immediately you undo the thought, but that leaves you the blank space to put in what you want. And that kind of is that secret. Hit the undo. Don't worry about it. Don't give any more attention to it. Don't give any more power to it. Undo the thought as if it never were, and then put in what it is you actually want. And really, honestly, sometimes we don't know that it's a mistake until we see it, and then we go, oh, that's not what I want. Undo, and then it allows us the chance to put in what we actually want. Because sometimes we don't know what we want until we see what we don't want. And so that's the power of that undo. And that's why I talk about the trend of your thoughts. Where our attention goes is where our power goes. So we're focused on that mistake rather than immediately undoing it. We're putting more power into that mistake. So the power of the undo button is it immediately wipes it out. No more attention goes to it. No more power goes to it. And then we can put in what we actually want. Now, if you've hit send, well, it may take a little bit more work, but it's still fixable. The absolute beauty of growing up in the computer era is that undo button where you can type something out, realize that it's not what you want, and immediately undo it. And the secret being, you immediately put in what you do. You immediately write over whatever the mistake was. So you don't have to keep looking at the mistake. You have immediately replaced it. And if we could do that with our thoughts, when we have a thought that is not what we want, if we could immediately go, that is not what I want, and replace it with what we do, we would be far more successful, because then our attention and our power is going to go to what we do want. So I thoroughly am on board with this undo key. I think it's fantastic. Okay, so I mean, make of what you will, the quotes, but thought attracts what is like itself and repels what is unlike. We are drawn towards those things we mentally image. And so that is the power of that undo key. If you focus on the mistake, you're going to give it more power, and you're going to draw more things like that mistake. And so so immediately just delete it and replace it. Delete it, replace it. It's like when I talk about habits. You don't replace, you don't quit something, you replace it with something else. Breaking a habit, it's not the way it works. You replace it. And so same thing with our mental equivalents. If our mental, and the cool thing is if we've got a mental equivalent that is working for us, we can also just enlarge that mental equivalent a little bit. It's like we can replace it with something a little bit bigger. It's like, oh, wait, this works. Let me make that cup of acceptance. Remember the cup of acceptance? A little bit bigger. Until we are satisfied, and that's kind of that undo button. It's like, or if we've got the undo button, we've got the enlarge button. That's right now. That's exactly what I'm dealing with, is because, with my eyes being so different, reading is a challenge. So you watch me do this where I'm reading with one eye. I don't know what's going to happen when I do the other eye. We'll find out in about a month, probably. I can enlarge the print, which makes it easier for me to read. So, if you start looking at computer language and applying it to science of mind fits right in there. It really does. It's like, oh, well, we have an undo, and we have a backspace, and we have a delete, and we have a make it bigger, and we have a make it smaller. All of these wonderful function keys that we can do the same thing in our mind. We can do the same thing in our mind. I keep seeing this meme that says, you can rotate a cow in your mind and nobody can stop you. Well, there's all of these things that our minds can do, and nobody can stop us. So if you want to enlarge something, if you want to make it a little bit smaller, if you want to undo something, if you want to redo, if you want to copy, like if something is working really well, it's like, well, you can copy and paste it. We also have cut. Oh, we have all these functions that would work so well with science of mind. You have very impressive claws. He's a black cat with white claws, so it's kind of interesting. He also hates having his claws clipped, so he's just a real bear about it. Okay. Yeah. I could just go on and on and on about how we could apply the various computer functions that we have to our mind, because the computer came out of our mind. And so now we can look at all these cool functions that the computer can do and see how we can apply them to our science of mind. Okay. And then that second one, the learn to live. The righteous steward governs their own mind. You can't govern anybody else's mind. The only mind you have control over is yours. What you can do is be an example. You can be an example. And when you are successfully managing your mind, your confidence, your life, other people are going to look at you and go, well, what do you know that I don't know? And then you can teach them something. But the science of mind is really one that people have to come to on their own. They have to want to learn how to do this. That's why we don't go out and proselytize. We don't do the whole knocking on doors, door to door, because this is information that people want, but they got to see it in action. And then they go, oh, why does your life work when mine doesn't? Well, because we know about the undo button. We know about the copy and paste button. We know about the enlarge button. We have worked our mind. We govern our mind. We are good stewards of our minds. So the rest of that quote is their confidence is not in the thing's material, but in their concept of the one power and their conviction that thoughts are things. So that, like I said, that's a book called Live to Learn, page 200. All right. Let me see if there's anything I missed. Yeah. We all think it would have been better not to have made the mistake in the first place, but there's no point in beating ourselves up about it. Really, honestly, if we make mistakes, the best thing to do is just to undo it. If other people are involved, make amends. But to undo it and immediately replace it. As Einstein says, worry is a misuse of imagination. Just undo that thought that you do not prefer and replace it with what you do. And don't beat yourself up about it, because like I said, one of the cool things about is making a mistake is you see what doesn't work. And it often gives you a step in the right direction to what you do want. So when you don't know what you want, look at the mistake you made and go, all right, undo that. And now how can I turn it this way? Correct it immediately. So, okay. We activate our mental key by declaring our oneness with God, by knowing that we are perfect, whole, and complete. So, the mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to activate a new positive thought in its place. So anytime our thought is not quite right, hit that undo button and put a new positive thought in its place. That's the mission. It's always the mission. Anytime we make a mistake, it's like, don't beat yourself up about it. Fix it. And you can do it starting right here. And it's a shift in attitude. It's a shift in mental functions. And so many of us are taught to cry over spilled milk. Just mop it up and move on. Replace it with, maybe you can look at the bucket and go, well, why did I spill the milk? Well, because my bucket wasn't big enough. Get a bigger bucket. So, that's that. Like I said, we can enlarge things. I love computers. I grew up with them though, so that's why I love them so much. All right. So you have your mission for today. Immediately replace a mistaken thought with a new and positive one. And then, as always, I do encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, especially since we're talking about mistakes, because frequently we have a tendency. One of the things that I really dislike the most about Christianity is the guilt. I was raised Catholic, and they are big on guilt. It's like, yes, we make mistakes. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So let's let go of the guilt. Do something loving for yourself. Do something kind for yourself. Do something compassionate for yourself, especially when it comes to after making a mistake. The most compassionate thing you can do for yourself in a mistake is to immediately fix it and let it go. We can all be Elsa and just let things go. And I'm a big believer on practicing on yourself. Practice love, kind, and compassion on yourself, because other people are going to make mistakes. And if we have practiced being loving, kind, and compassionate with ourselves about our own mistakes, then we can be loving, kind, and compassionate with other people in their mistakes. People make mistakes. It just happens. And so if they make a mistake and it is out of character for them, then we forgive them and move on. And if people keep making the same mistakes, then we can back up a couple of steps and go, I see that you've got an issue here. And I'll be over here when you're ready. You don't have to subject yourself to people's continued mistakes. You don't. And it is what it is. So you can love them from a safe distance while they get that mistake out of their system. So, okay. So the other thing about practicing love, kind of compassion, I know I focused a little bit because on the mistakes, it is about making sure that we enjoy life. All right. Self-care is very important. And part of self-care is to make sure that you are making time to actually enjoy life. And if you are overwhelmed, then step back a step and let it wash over you. And you just tell the people in your life, hey, I'm a little overwhelmed. I need to step back for a minute. And they'll get it, All right. Okay. I'm going to get off my soapbox about self-care. It's been very important to me lately, is that whole self-care thing. So, I would encourage you, as I always do, to do something loving for yourself. To do something to engage your mind and your body. I encourage you to drink plenty of water. They're talking like the high is going to be 88 today. Whew. And they're talking 60% chance of storms. So I'm kind of hoping we'll see some of that rain. It drizzled yesterday. But drink plenty of water. Take care of yourself. It is still hot. It is still August. I know where we live. And then get that early in your day light. Reset those circadian rhythms. It's science. Trust me on that. And then open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven. Right here, right now. It's all around us. Because it's a state of mind. It's a state of consciousness. And it is something, because it is a state of mind and state of consciousness, that we can create anywhere we are because we carry it within ourselves. All right. And it's a whole lot easier when you're with like-minded people, but there's that. So I think that's what I needed you to know today. That's maybe what I needed to know today. I needed to know about the undo button. So, take Emma's advice. Look for the good and praise it. And look for the little good, because it's a little good that adds up into that amazing avalanche. So, all right. Catch us on the social medias. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. And I'm the running Rev Ryan. And if you want to know what's going on with the center, because we've got some stuff coming up, there's almost always at least 1 or 2 book studies going on, and you can drop in and out of those. And there's a couple of classes coming up. So, and that summer movie series is still going on. I don't know if Jesse's done his or not. I thought he was towards the end of September. So email info@creativelife.org. That will get you on the constant contact email, and those hot links are hot. So, yeah. I think that's what I know. So I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a magnificent day, a fantastic day, and a chanting day, a magical day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. You are a beloved child of God, in whom God is well pleased and well represented always. It is a state of grace. And the best thing about grace is it can't be earned and it can't be taken away. It's granted. And since we know that God is a God of love, because God is love, we always live in that state of grace. All right? You are a beloved child of God. So, Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I will be back with you around 9 a.m. and then we will have an amazing service for you, because it's August and we have a new theme. I forget what it is. I feel like it has something to do with ice cream. I could be wrong. So, check out that email. All right, beloveds. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time.